Hey there. Welcome back to our podcast, Touch One Life, Touch Millions with Dr. Eve. I am so excited to be back in the studio with you all today as we dive into something absolutely critical. Last week, I began talking on IG about the importance of assessing land for those of you who are evaluating for sustainable living, looking at vying for homesteading, and looking at sustainable well being as an alternative solution to dominant institutional cultures. And today we're going to dive into some of the information how to evaluate the land for sustainable living, business expansion, and long term stability. I think it's important that we expound on that in greater detail so that we can begin to really comb through what's possible for us as we are in this survivor's economy. If you've been thinking about securing land, whether for homesteading, farming, or building a foundation for your economic freedom, this episode is for you. I'm going to be breaking it all down from verifying the exact location to understanding climate conditions and expansion potential. So let's get into it. Step number one in the general information on the general information side of things, step number one is verifying the exact location. First things first, location matters. And I'm not just talking about a general area. I mean the exact GPS coordinates and official land records. Concerns that I generally watch for is the location properly registered, or will I run into any boundary disputes? Are there discrepancies between the GPS maps and actual property lines? If the land is rural, how accurate is the address and how easy is it to access? Successful strategies that work for me is I always cross check GPS coordinates with official land registry records. I use mapping tools like Google Earth and even hire a land surveyor, which I highly recommend for accuracy. When possible, I make an on site visit because seeing it in person is a game changer. My coach always said to me, listen, when you're in search of any type of real property, whether it's in tax lien property or foreclosure or whatever it is, make sure that you get there and lay your eyes on it because you might be looking at half a building. So you want to make sure that you are seeing this land. Where most people go wrong is relying on online listings without verifying the information. Assuming ownership is clear without checking official records like titles and liens, things of that nature, clear titles. What I recommend is before investing, pull legal land records and zoning details. Use GIS mapping and a surveyor to avoid nasty surprises. Talk to local authorities because paperwork doesn't always tell the full story. All right, let's on to step number two. Evaluating the proximity to urban centers, markets, and transportation. I talked to you all about that not last week on IG, but we're going to go in a little deeper. Now let's talk about accessibility. It's not just about being near a city. It's about whether you can actually get what you need when you need it. Concerns that raise red flags for me would be, is the land too remote for regular supply runs? Are the roads decent? Or will I need a 4x4 just to get home? Will transportation costs eat into my profits if I plan to sell products? Success indicators that show me a good investment. easy access to highways and essential services, a reliable transportation network because trucking and shipping costs matter, proximity to markets, especially if I'm selling agricultural goods or need business connections. Where the gaps show up is in poor infrastructure, even when a location looks good on paper. Underestimating the travel time, especially in rural areas. My go to strategy is I always drive the route myself because maps don't show real time road conditions, right? We all know that. Sometimes we run into some detours. I calculate transportation costs before making a decision. I also check if the area has upcoming infrastructure projects that could improve value over time. That's a really good one. Step number three, you want to review your climate conditions and suitability for goals. The environment determines everything from what I can grow to how I need to prepare my land. The biggest concerns for me is the climate stable enough for long term agricultural success? Will extreme weather like droughts or storms impact my plans? Do I have access to water for irrigation, livestock, or personal use? Signs that tell me a land purchase is worth it would be a steady climate that matches the crops or livestock I want to raise, good natural water resources or well access, a growing season that aligns with my business goals. Common gaps people overlook, they buy land based on price, but forget to check the soil quality. You guys, over and over again, I talked to you about soil quality. I think it was just the other day I did a quick live on IG about that. They don't, when you don't analyze historical weather data to see if it's sustainable, you assume nearby water sources are reliable without testing them. So you must not let these gaps go overlooked, right? What I always do before I buy is I pull historical weather data and consult agricultural maps. This is not only this is important for land, but it's also important for growing if you're planning to use that in an agricultural way. We are specifically talking about real agricultural land for the future of sustainable well-being. So these things are very, very critical. I test the soil as I share with you on IG because not all land is automatically farmable, right? You want to research some common pests and diseases in your area. Last year, I was introduced to June bugs. You know, all my life I grew up. We talked about June bugs. I had no idea that they were talking about these assassins because the June bug will assassin your plants. Okay. So you have to be aware of what's happening in your area. Step number 4 is determining land size and expansion potential. Last but definitely not least, can I grow into this land or will I outgrow it too soon? I'm grateful to have several parcels so I can expand, if not here, then in another area. Concerns that stop me from investing would be strict zoning laws that limit what I can build or cultivate. Like, again, y'all, I told you I don't like HOAs because put limits on things. You can't, they just got too many rules. And they also, some places won't even let you, city limits won't even let you have a garden in your front yard. And if I buy land, I believe that the pertinence should allow me to have control over my land, what is legal, what is the air, the ground, under the soil, above the soil, all things, right? Natural barriers like flood zones or rocky terrain, right? Surrounding land that's unavailable or too expensive for future expansion, right? So you want to consider that. What's the potential of expansion? Success factors that give me the green light to go would be plenty of space for future projects or business growth. Like I knew I wanted to live here and build a homestead here because it had all the attributes that I needed to hit the green light, right? It had the green light for me. Land that's easy to divide for multiple uses. Like in this time, in this age and time, we're talking about even being able to add ADUs. Why? Because they're now given the goal for us to be able to add ADUs in to address the homelessness homelessness crisis in America. Favorable zoning laws that allow farming, housing, and business, right? Check your city zoning laws. Can you do business out of your home? Can you farm? Here we can. Housing, all the things. What most people really miss is not checking for legal restrictions before buying, failing to think long term about how much space they'll need. And number three, assuming they can expand without verifying land ownership of adjacent plots. How do I plan for success? There are three ways. I look at expansion options before I even make an offer. It should be a part of your due diligence. Study the local zoning laws so I know what's possible. And think 5 to 10 years ahead, not just about your immediate needs, but what's possible. Always think what's possible. At the end of the day, land ownership is more than just a purchase. It's a strategic move for your freedom, stability, and legacy. Now we're going to turn to some what's in the news because several developments could impact land evaluation and agricultural planning. In the news, we have number one, trade tensions affecting agricultural exports. China has announced new tariffs of up to 15% on major U.S. farm products, including chicken, pork, soy, and beef, effective March 10th, 2025. This escalation in the trade war could reduce demand for these exports, affecting market prices and farm revenues. This is according to Associated Press. Number two, changes in the federal land management policies. President Trump has signed executive orders to increase logging in national forests and public lands, aiming to boost lumber production by bypassing the certain environmental regulations, including protections for endangered species. While intended to enhance timber supply, these actions may lead to habitat loss and mixed effects on wildfire management. Let's really be paying attention to what's happening, those of you who are, interested in the agri-land space. Number three, foreign ownership of agricultural land under scrutiny. The U.S. Government Accountability Office reports that foreign investment in the U.S. agricultural land has grown to over 40 million acres in 2022, a 50% increase since 2017. This trend has prompted legislative efforts to restrict foreign ownership, particularly by entities associated with foreign adversaries, to protect national security and domestic food production. This comes from Hush Blackwell, Voice of America, Associated Press News, and several other sources. Number four, federal funding freezes impacting conservation programs. The USDA has frozen funding for certain programs, and many of us, that are having farming IDs look to certain programs that the USDA is more likely to fund, and that they are big on conservation programs and they will halt funding. The USDA has frozen funding for certain programs, including environmental conservation initiatives funded by the 2022 Inflation Reduction Act. This freeze affects assistance for practices like cover cropping and irrigation improvements, potentially hindering sustainable land management for efforts. This comes from directly out of Reuters. This is why I tell you all that there's so much we need to know how to do some of these things for ourselves to be independent of funding. How do we utilize the natural resources that are on our land to be able to conserve energy, to conserve water? There are things that are actually possible to implement if we educate ourselves, right? Number 5, water scarcity threatening agricultural regions. The Colorado River, a crucial water source for about 15% of U.S. agriculture, is experiencing significant depletion. If you live in this area, please note this decline threatens regions like Southern California's Imperial Valley, which relies entirely on the river for irrigation and contributes approximately 2/3 of the nation's winter produce. Water shortages could drastically impact crop yields and the national food supply. This is out of the New York Post. And this is also why it's important to look at where you are in proximity to streams, oceans, rivers, creeks, and all of those things. We'll be talking a lot more about that because I live near a creek and I want to tell you about the impact that the creeks may have and your access to those creeks. Number 6, federal layoffs affecting agricultural services. Recent mass layoffs within federal agencies, including the USDA and the U.S. Forest Service, have reduced staff for conservation planning, technical assistance, and wildfire prevention. These cuts could impair sustainable agricultural practices and land management, increasing risks such as soil erosion and inadequate wildfire mitigation. Number 7, legal actions influencing agricultural information access. A lawsuit alleges that the Trump administration violated the law by removing climate change information from USDA websites, adversely affecting organic farmers who rely on this data for crop management and mitigating extreme weather effects. The removal of resources like the Climate Risk Viewer has sparked legal challenges aiming to restore access to essential agricultural information. Wow. This comes from TheVerge.com. State level restrictions on foreign land purchases for those of us who are looking for opportunities. North Dakota has led efforts to limit Chinese land purchases following security concerns over a Chinese company's plan to develop farmland near a U.S. Air Force base. This has spurred legislation across various states to restrict foreign ownership of farmland, reflecting a broader trend to protect national security and domestic agriculture. These developments underscore the importance of staying informed about policy changes, environmental changes, and economic shifts when evaluating land for agricultural purposes. Here are some resources that can help. The United States offers a variety of federal programs and resources to support landowners, farmers, and ranchers in managing and enhancing their land. Key agencies like the U.S. Department of Agriculture and the U.S. Forest Service provide financial assistance, technical support, and conservation programs. Here's an overview of available resources. Financial assistance, grants and loans under the USDA provides various financial support options, including home ownership opportunities for low and moderate income rural Americans, funding for vital home improvements, and loans for affordable multifamily rental housing. These programs aim to assist individuals in financing necessary enhancements to ensure their homes are decent, safe, and sanitary. Another resource is under conservation and land management programs. There are three. Number 1, Forest Stewardship Program, which is offered by the U.S. Forest Service. This program assists private forest landowners in managing, enhancing, and protecting their forested lands. It provides technical assistance and helps develop management plans tailored to individual landowners' goals. That's the USDA Forest Service. Number two, Environmental Quality Incentives Program, administered by the Natural Resources Conservation Service. EQIP offers financial and technical assistance to agricultural producers to address natural resource concerns and deliver environmental benefits. This is the whiteoakinitiative.org. You can find more information about that. Number three, Conservation Stewardship Program, also managed by the NRCS. CSP helps agricultural producers maintain and improve their existing conservation systems and adopt additional conservation activities to address priority resource concerns. Number three, here's for support for beginning farmers and ranchers. Beginning farmers and ranchers can look to the USDA offers dedicated support to individuals new to farming or ranching. This includes access to farm loans, conservation programs, risk management tools, and disaster assistance. The USDA also provides resources tailored to military veterans entering agriculture. Learn more about this at farmers.gov. Number four, for landowner assistance programs, Landowner Resources, the U.S. Forest Service, in partnership with the state forestry agencies, offers various programs and tools for landowners. These resources assist in sustainable land management, conservation practices, and enhancing forest health. This comes directly from the USDA Forest Service. Number five, ACER, ACER Access and Development Program. This program supports the efforts of states, tribal governments, and research institutions to promote the domestic maple syrup industry through activities like market development and research. You can find more about this at ams.usda.gov. I will put a listing of these agencies in the description below. Another one is Farmers Market Promotion Program, otherwise known as FMPP, provides grants to help improve and expand domestic farmers markets, roadside stands, community-supported agricultural programs, agritourism activities, and other direct producer-to-consumer market opportunities. That's a good one. I'm going to check that one out. Number six, disaster assistance programs. The USDA's Farmer Service Agency, FSA, offers programs to help agricultural producers recover from losses due to natural disasters. These programs provide financial assistance for crop and livestock losses, as well as aid for farmland rehabilitation. Check out your local farm service agency. And number seven, renewable energy initiatives. Rural Energy for America program, otherwise known as REAP, REAP, provides grants and loan guarantees to agricultural producers and rural small businesses for renewable energy systems and energy efficiency improvements. This includes projects like installing solar panels or improving irrigation systems. For more information, check out farmraise.com. These programs are designed to support landowners, farmers, and ranchers in improving their operations, conserving natural resources, and enhancing their livelihoods. For personalized assistance and to explore specific programs available in your area, it's advisable to contact your local USDA Service Center, or State Forestry Agency, USDA Forest Service. If you're serious about investing in land for your homestead, farm, or business, take the time to evaluate it properly. Don't rush, do your research, and always think beyond today, because land is one of the greatest assets you can pass down for generations. If today's episode spoke to you, do me a favor. Share it with someone who's been thinking about land ownership. And if you're ready to take the next step, head over to my website at www.drevangelsavage.com, where I offer assessments and strategy sessions to help you make informed decisions. Until next time, keep building, keep growing, and keep designing a life that works for you. I'm going to head on over to our chat and see if there are any comments or concerns in the chat. That if you have questions, please feel free to add them to the comment or to the chat area so that we can I can answer them as best I can. I do hope that this information helps you, as there are many resources that are available to us. We just have to check them out and be vigilant and make sure that you're making all of these things a part of your due process. The more we know, the further we go. I don't currently see any comments in the live chat. Let's see. Let's see, where are we in the live chat? Okay, let's go back home. Where's my live chat? Let's go to the videos. Don't see it. I don't see you out there today. Where are you all? There's usually at least a one or two of you out there. So I'm just checking on the chat to see what's happening. Let's view all. Usually my live will show up at the top. But let me go over here to, okay, I do not see any questions over here. There are a few that are watching, but I do not see any questions. So if you do have questions, please leave your questions in the comment section, and I will come back and check to see. I hope that we were thorough in providing information on evaluating your land, at least the general land information. I will be coming back weekly as we progress toward designing sustainable living and business growth for our families, our children, and our children's children. And again, keep building, keep growing, and keep designing a life that works for you. Until next time, have an amazing day. Whatever you do, let no one get in the way on your journey to becoming who God has called you to become. Let's